Welcome, I'm Bryony, this is Tina. We're both engineers working for Balfour Beatty in the major projects part of their business, and we're here to talk to you about rural isolation in the developing world. So firstly, does anyone know what rural isolation actually is? Cool. So essentially it's limited access to infrastructure and services that most of us in the UK take for granted. Access to food, water, sanitation, education, markets, being able to sell goods, being able to buy goods, healthcare and transport links. So that's what rural isolation is. I think this image kind of perfectly shows why it's important. So the questions are, why do the people who live north of the river have a right to better access to market, to education, to hospitals, and to wider connections to larger settlements? What is it that they have, and should they be provided those opportunities just based on where their house is within 10 metres north or south of a river? I think what's important, and what we've learned over the last year, is what we can do to help. As engineers, as people working within the sort of engineering sector, we have a lot of skills that we don't realise we can transfer, and we can really help other people. It's about working out how we can use that sustainably. We need to get out of the mindset that everybody in the developed world has all of the answers. You have to go to communities and you have to work with them and provide solutions that are going to work for them. I think until we went out to Rwanda and we saw a mother carrying a little baby and a 4-year-old child on her back over this bridge before it was washed away, that was a real reminder to us as to why we were doing what we were doing. So as engineers and as technical professionals, what can we do to help? There's a number of solutions. We can provide new infrastructure, increase accessibility to services, improve transport links, more services, and maybe as a last resort, relocation. We need to look at which ones of those are short-term and which ones of those are long-term and which are sustainable, but also that we don't create more problems. So relocation seems like an obvious solution. We could just move everybody north of the river in that picture, but then you increase problems with you get issues like you have with the favelas in Brazil, kind of overpopulation and then over-reliance on those services, and that creates more problems. So for us it's about seeing the bigger picture and working out what we can do to provide solutions that are going to help communities help themselves.
We believe that every single person in this room is capable of doing something to help. That same belief is what Ken France held in 2001 when he first saw this picture in National Geographic. It shows people crossing the Blue Nile River in Ethiopia using just a rope because their bridge is broken. Within 3 months, he'd gathered all his friends and family and they'd gone out to Ethiopia and they'd repaired the bridge. And he created this vision that have inspired generations of bridge builders to follow. And that includes people like Bryony and myself. So in June this year, we travelled out to Rubavu, which is a community in Rwanda, and we helped build a footbridge for 4,300 people. Rwanda is a small country, it's the size of Wales in East Africa. It's commonly listed as the 20th poorest country in the world. A few years ago, a student travelled around Rwanda and he ranked all of the sites that were in most need of a bridge. This charity, Bridges to Prosperity, are now taking off those bridges one by one in collaboration with the government. So this picture you saw before is the original bridge, and the picture was sent to us 1 month before we travelled out to Rwanda. So during rain season, the water level rises and it washes away the existing bridge. The community is then cut off for up to 3 months until the water level drops and they can build a new one. So you can see Minigo, which is this place, was in real need of a bridge. This map is actually our bridge site. As you can see, the bridge links all of the farmland and half of the community to the schools, the market, the hospital, the main roads, all the vital links that they need. So this is the team that travelled out there. There were 10 of us, 5 people from McDonald and 5 people from Balfour Beatty. This is Balfour Beatty's 4th bridge. And this year, the team was pretty focused, not just on delivering a bridge, but on the wider social sustainability aspect. We also wanted to make improvements to the standard method that Bridges to Prosperity build our bridges. So in the 3-month period, we had from first meeting for the first time to actually travelling out to Rwanda to build this bridge. We put together this 3D SketchUp model, and it was really useful for us to see how we were going to plan this new method. But it was also really helpful once we got to Rwanda and communicating with people who only spoke Kinyarwanda and getting across these quite complex construction techniques where a picture like this did really say a lot more than 1,000 words. So this is a video. I'm going to quickly take you through it. So the piers would be built when we got out there. We'd build low-level scaffold that we could build the towers on. We'd then build a high-level scaffold, lay the cables across the lowered towers. We'd set up the winch across the other side of the river and then raise the towers one at a time. We would then deconstruct the scaffold and launch hangers from both sides, meeting in the middle, create a working platform, and then complete our hangers. We then launch the decking in a similar way from both sides, meeting in the middle, and then a few final touches, handrails, and that was it.
We realised we had 3 months to implement and plan. So we focused on some key areas. Whilst we were out there, training, use of PPE, a lot of things that we take for granted in the UK, not walking under scaffolding, making sure all your tools are tethered. Yeah, they were sort of some low-level things that we had to implement quite strongly. In terms of addressing the methodology, the original method used the towers would be lifted like they are being there, and then once they were in position, the cables were hauled up the side of the scaffolding by somebody, clipped on, and pulling the cable up the scaffold. So you can imagine what the health and safety guys in the UK were thinking when they saw this, and how we were going to address this. So what we did was we built this bracket, which came out in our hand luggage, and so there's one on either tower. We laid the cables on the towers before we lifted them. We then lifted the tower, took the bracket off the top, put it on the other tower, and lifted the other tower. It was a big risk. There was a moment where the program would have gone not so well if it hadn't worked, and there was a lot of calculations that were checked, and checked again. But luckily it did work, and it was a key step in allowing us to deliver a bridge more safely, reducing the amount of manual labour, reducing working at height, and also providing a method that is significantly more efficient. I think we learned quite a lot of things during this period. So I think the consultants learned that in the field, things aren't always built to the millimetre detail that is written on the drawings. I think the contractors learned that maybe sometimes taking some time to sit and do the calculations can be beneficial. And we can only imagine what a QS would have thought if he'd been there. So for us, as Tina said, it was more about the social impact that we were making as well as the technical impact of the bridge. So the way that the bridge sites are selected is they are built in communities where the local council is willing to provide some sort of funding. So they pay for a team of locals. So we have a bridge committee of 10 local people working with us on the build. They're funded from the government. They work with us. We teach them skills that we've got. They teach us a lot as well. And they are empowered to take responsibility for the bridge going forward. So they know how to maintain it. They know the skills that they need to do that. And they were critical in cementing the legacy of the project within the community. They brought all their friends and family down to meet us on day one. And they were vital for ensuring that we weren't just like a bunch of people from England coming in, building a bridge and leaving. It's not working. And yeah, so us working together with them was critical, if not sometimes a bit difficult. There was a number of times where communication was not key, but this one will show you. So alongside that, so the knowledge share was critical. Tina and I were both very focused from the beginning of learning as much as we could from the local people, but also passing on our skills. And it is really amazing in your day-to-day jobs. You don't realise how much you pick up until you go to a community where they are so reliant on the knowledge that you've taken in the past 2 or 3 years in your working life. So we worked with our teams of locals to get a lot of the tasks done. There was a lot of miscommunication and some key language barriers and some slightly different approaches to health and safety and quality. But I think what we realised very quickly was how much you can communicate without exchanging a single word in the same language. For us as well, as a team, we were there for 2 weeks. We didn't want it to be us and them. We were one group of people building this project, and you realise you can have a lot of fun when working in construction. This was a daily routine.
I just wanted to add that was at 6:45 in the morning. So that was how we engaged with our construction team. But for us, engaging with the wider community was really important. So here's an example of, I think it's a video, if you could play it, of Bryony doing head, shoulders, knees and toes with our local daily fan base of onlookers.
Shoulders, knees, toes. And then we go like this. No, it's and then we turn around. And then we go quick stop. Again?
We also had a more structured community engagement program. That included playing football. We were out there in the height of the World Cup, so that was really popular. And we also visited schools. We took with us several packs of Jenga with the idea of overcoming the language barrier, but by showing the school students that if you remove your structure piece by piece, it eventually will fall down. Whereas if you maintain it, if you repair it, if you look after it, it will last much longer. And all of that was to generate an interest and in helping the students take ownership and feel like this too was part of their bridge. We also celebrated International Women in Engineering Day when we were out there. This was a really interesting day. So 3 out of the 10 in-country team were women. And we learned that 50% of the Rwandan government are women. It's one of the highest numbers in the world. We also learned a lot about the government policies. So they've banned all of the plastic bags in the country. They have car-free days where you have to walk or cycle everywhere. You're not allowed to drive your car. They've got something called Umuganda, where on the last Saturday of every month, everyone comes together in the community and they fix broken roads, they fix broken houses. Imagine what a progressive and forward-thinking country like this could do if they had the infrastructure to empower themselves out of poverty.
Whilst we were out there and in the planning phase of the project, we all learned a lot, socially, technically. And yeah, looking at this bridge and looking at what we plan to build and looking that we actually built it is a huge, huge reward to all of us. For us, this was like a reminder of why we do what we do. there really is reason to celebrate. We provided a safe crossing for over 4,000 people in a project which we delivered within 9 days. We've provided uninterrupted education for 800 children and a sense of relief and security to a load of parents who on a weekly basis have to make a decision as to whether their children should be allowed to go to school, questioning whether they're going to come back safely or even come back at all. We've the figures of Bridges to Prosperity generally shows a 30% increase in profit in the communities that we're working within, and all we've done is provide one small piece of infrastructure to allow people to help themselves.
That was just one bridge. Bridges to Prosperity have built over 200 bridges over the last 15 years in 20 different countries. They've helped over 1 million people empower themselves out of poverty by giving them access to healthcare, to schooling, to the main roads, to the markets. Think about all the knowledge that is sat in this room, collectively and individually. You're all sat on years of knowledge that you can all go out and share. Bryony and I have been really, really lucky to have had the opportunity to be part of this fantastic and really, really humbling experience. And we'd encourage you all to go out in the wider world and do something better.
This is really impressive. I really want to commend you for this effort. My question, I don't know if this was answered or said in each before I came in. How did the project came about? Is it part of the corporate social responsibility of your company in association with Bridges to Prosperity, as well as how did you come about choosing the country and the location to do this project in?
It's a partnership with Bridges to Prosperity, who are a charity based in the US. Part of their charitable model is partnering with industry partners. Balfour, Beatty and Mott MacDonald put up quite a substantial amount of money each year to allow us to go out. It's part of their kind of charitable giving, but it's also part of their investment in their engineers and kind of their employees. So this is seen within Balfour Beatty as a bit of a reward for some things that you do. You have to be interviewed, you have to prove that you're going to kind of carry the responsibility that comes with working on this project. In terms of picking the location, Bridges to Prosperity have a number of bridges kind of each year that they're targeting and wanting to build. And if they then get the support from the local people and the local council, then those bridge builds go ahead. Originally, we were going to be building a different bridge. It then got changed, I think, once we'd already been told. This is like something you learn, that things change all the time and you don't always get told, but that's fine, it's part of the challenge. And then it was the month before we went out and the original bridge got washed away. For us, that was like, okay, this actually needs to happen. So it's kind of good that they picked that bridge at that time.